Hi, this is Razor Wire, and this is day 7 and the final day of the Twin Flame Signs and Synchronicities that you might see while you're on the journey. And I've written some notes for myself because I tend to forget quite easily, and I know what I want to talk about, so I wanted to make sure I got everything. We've already talked about in the previous videos animal signs, numerical signs, and isn't there another one? Animal signs, numerical signs, tarot cards that you might see. All right. So one of the most, important signs in the twin, well, actually the most, not, I guess, it is the most important sign is how you feel about this person. Okay, and this is not something that anyone can answer. Only you can answer this question. And that's why I kind of advise, against, if you're going to get a tarot reading with your twin flame, asking questions like, is this person my twin flame? And kind of leaving it up to someone else to answer. Because they don't know how you feel for this person. They can't fully comprehend the connection, even if you take the time to explain it to them. Only you can know that. So you really need to trust, your instincts. When you meet this person, and you might meet them in the 3D, you might meet them in the 5D, you might meet them online, which is kind of in between in a way, you will most likely experience a lot of emotions, a lot of emotions pouring out of you at the same time. You might feel this intense tugging in your chest or in your solar plexus area. A lot of people report that. You're going to be drawn to this person. You're going to feel things for this person that you have never felt for another person. You might feel like you've known this person your whole life and you don't even know why. You might feel at home with this person, extremely, extremely comfortable with this person. You might bust out into tears, when you start talking to this person, or you might have an urge to just run away screaming in the opposite direction because it's so overwhelming and so intense. When you see this person, you might have a feeling of purpose, a feeling that you have something really important to do together. You don't know why. You have no idea why. You don't know who this person is, but you just have this feeling that you're meant to be together, to connect in some deep, unexplainable way. Yeah. When I saw my twin, I felt that, and I saw them, online, not in person. I felt that I was looking at myself. I remember saying, this is me, and I was like, but that doesn't make sense. I don't know this person, they're not me, obviously, but I felt really strongly like I was looking at myself. I felt that we had something important to do together that I just couldn't shake. I saw myself like literally walking into this person and kind of becoming one. So there's all kinds of experiences that you might have. Once that initial meeting, you're probably going to find that you cannot stop thinking about this person no matter what you do. You're thinking about them all the time, day and night. You're dreaming about them, wondering what they're doing. You might feel like you're going crazy. You might feel like you're obsessed. Even if you have never been prone to obsessive behavior, even if you've never stalked anybody, even if you've always been like a pretty stable person, you might find yourself, absolutely kind of out of your mind over this person, looking them up on social media all the time, wanting to learn everything you can about them, or you might think that they're extremely intimidating for some reason. You might just get so overwhelmed that you try to avoid them instead. Whatever happens, one of the things you'll find is that your life starts to change, often dramatically. Sometimes everything seems to fall apart and go into chaos. This seems to be especially true for divine masculines, that their life just falls apart, Sometimes for the divine feminine, their life changes in a little bit more controlled fashion, because it's a little bit more, the changes that they make are a little bit more conscious than the masculine. But you will find that your life changes. You'll find that relationships end. Relationships that you thought were going to last forever will suddenly just end, or you will, kind of grow out of them and start to move on. You start to see the world differently, in a very different way, and you may feel like you need to change jobs or move. A lot of changes, a lot of upheaval, a lot of chaos will usually occur shortly after you meet your twin. Some people report that they kind of meet their twin before they've awakened. And if this happens, if neither twin is awake and you kind of meet each other, it might not seem like anything significant. So it might seem like, that you might be friends, you might be kind of comfortable with each other, you might know each other, but you don't recognize, how special the connection is until some years later, when one or both of you starts to wake up, and then suddenly you start to see this connection in a completely different way. So for some of you, it might not happen instantly. It might be something that happens kind of gradually over the years, that you start to wake up and you start to recognize what this relationship is. So that's something that you might see. Their name. Okay, their name is something that in the beginning of the journey you're likely to see a lot, to hear a lot. If it's an uncommon name, that's an even stronger sign. If their name is, John or something, and you might be like, well, yeah, I'm going to hear that name all the time anyway. But if they have a very unusual name, that can be a really good indicator. It's a way of getting your attention. Oftentimes you'll hear that kind of when the universe needs to get your attention and kind of bring you back to the path. Sometimes you'll start to hear their name like right before union comes in. I know for myself, when I first started this journey, I didn't know what twin flames were. I'd never heard of that concept, and someone told me what it was. And so, that night I went to bed and I prayed, is that what we are? Are we twin flames? Is that what this connection is? And, that night I had a very, very powerful dream about my twin. And that morning when I woke up, my, then partner put on a television program, and in that program, they said my twin's name over and over and over again. And my twin does not have a particularly common name. At least I never heard it that much before. It's not uncommon, but I'd never really heard it that much prior to meeting them. And in the show I was watching, it wasn't the name of a person, it was the name of the place. And so it was the place that the hero had to return to. It was home. And so, for the whole show, they kept talking about how beautiful it was, how much he wanted to return home, and using home in connection with my twin's name. So you might see things like that happening with their name. Discovering twin flames is itself a sign. For some of you, you might learn about twin flames like I did after you meet your twin, and then it just kind of just pops up. That information just suddenly pops up, even though you have literally never heard of it, never seen it, never searched for it or anything. When I first started, I was like looking into lucid dreaming because I was having these incredibly vivid dreams that I couldn't explain. And I knew what soulmates, I'd heard of soulmates, but I didn't think this was a soulmate connection. I just felt like, no, this is bigger than that. And I was thinking there's nothing bigger than that. Like soulmates is the goal. Like that's the biggest thing there is, because I had that old-fashioned view about soulmates. And that was your forever person. And I was like, but this is bigger. This can't just be that. And I was like, I don't know what this is. So I started looking at lucid dreams and other things, trying to explain this. And it wasn't until somebody actually told me what it was that I kind of became aware. But for some of you, you might become aware of it, of twin flames, like shortly before you actually meet your twin flame. It can happen, it can happen either way. You might find that there is a zodiac compatibility between your signs. You might, if you're into numerology, you might find that your life paths are compatible. You might start to see people who look like your twin or remind you of your twin in some way. Maybe the way they move or the way they smell or the unique color of their eyes or something, but you'll be constantly reminded of this person. You're going to see them in everyone. You're going to find little pieces of them in everyone that you meet. So that is a common thing. You might see actual twins. I have seen so many twins since I started this journey in like the end of 2019. I have seen an unusual amount of twins. I didn't even know that many twins could conceivably exist in this world. I didn't realize how common twins were. But I've seen a lot, so you might see them, or you might hear about twins. And I don't mean just in the context of the twin flame community. Of course, you're going to hear that term, but I mean just when you're watching TV, you see twins, or you hear references, or when you go out to do your shopping, they're twins. You might see or hear the word union a lot. I remember I was watching a video and it was about a restaurant. And in the top, like in the big letters, across the screen, it said perfect union. And it had nothing to do, with, the restaurant or anything else. And it was just there. So you might like literally see the word union. You might see a lot of babies. I'm not sure why, but people report seeing a lot of babies, a lot of happy couples, because this is kind of a preview of what's to come for you. So the universe kind of likes to preview it first. So you might be seeing babies. You might get other reminders, like if your twin is in a particular career, for example, or has a particular interest or hobbies, or they drive a certain type of car, or maybe they speak a different language than you, or they live in a different country. I'm constantly, getting, references to France and Paris, where my twin lives, and I don't live there. And, I'll be watching television and all of a sudden the characters just start speaking French, even though they have never spoken French, and it has nothing to do with France. I see the Eiffel Tower constantly, no matter what I'm watching. And you probably have things like that are very, that you identify very strongly with your twin. I have watched a program and I heard my twin's name. They had introduced a character to this program that not only had my twin's name, but was in the exact profession that my twin is in, and just there were so many similarities with this person, and I was just, you're going to see stuff like that just kind of blows your mind. There might be specific scents that remind you of your twin. Your twin might wear a particular cologne or deodorant, or if you met your twin in a specific place, like a garden or something, there are a lot of roses blooming, so there might be, specific flowers that remind you of them. Let's see, you might see their car a lot. If you live in the same town, you might literally see their car everywhere you go. So you might, if you're living in the same town, you might even see them. You might be running into them constantly. If you don't live in the same town, you might be getting stuff on social media constantly to remind you, or, you might, like I said, be getting references to where they live, or feeling drawn to go visit, that country or that place. You might be seeing a lot of, this goes along with happy couples, but you might see marriage, right? You might see marriage frequently. I notice when I do my tarot readings, which I talked about in another video, that sometimes like cards concerning marriage, or cards that actually say marriage, will just keep popping up in my readings over and over and over again, and I'll be seeing weddings constantly on every show I watch. There'll be several weddings in a single episode sometimes, and I hadn't even anticipated a single, like a wedding, in the show, but they'll still be getting married. Some people see rainbows, which is to show that everything is protected, that the journey is protected. A lot of people say that they see bird feathers. That's something common. Obviously there's the dreams. You're going to be having probably very intense, lucid dreams. You might be traveling astrally, so some of these dreams are not going to feel at all like dreams. They're going to feel as real to you, if not more real than the 3D world. So you are actually like physically visiting them and interacting with them in another place. And this is something that I do with my twin, telepathy. And you might have the fortune of being able to check to see if that telepathy is working. I've done this with my twin. I have asked him a question in the 5D that I did not know the answer to. And then I asked him the same question in the 3D to see what he would answer. And he answered word for word the same way. And that was kind of weird. There have been times where he's posted something, and usually he's very meticulous about his posting. And he will have, because he had a store, he has a shop, and he will have left something off. And, I knew from his format that he had left something off. And I'll say, in my mind, hey, you might want to check that. And then he'll get on, right away and fix that, just and do exactly what I was thinking, even though he had been offline and had obviously not been thinking about it before. Music, I think a lot of you will relate to. And I have an entire playlist on here. I think it's called TF playlist or something, with songs I've received. And you can get, the songs can be songs that were playing when you met, or when you were together in some way, so they could have like special meaning. They could be like, your song, kind of like what you might have in a relationship. You might get these songs in dreams. These songs might kind of pop up in your recommendations on YouTube, even though you don't listen to that type of music and you've never heard of that artist. They might come on the radio, so you might hear the same song coming on the radio over and over again. Sometimes it might even be, I've heard that people will find that song on every channel that they turn to, or that it will play on the same radio station back to back for some reason, so a lot of people will get songs coming through, and I have quite a lot. There could be poems, if you read poetry, that you might get poems or phrases or quotes or something that are popping up in your feeds, and which make you think of your twin for whatever reason. Things like that seem to answer a question that you've asked. Is this my twin flame? And then a few minutes later, something pops up in your feed. This is your twin flame, or this is real. You might be getting things like that coming through. Like you find that when you have a question about if it's real or not, that question is getting answered like immediately. There's different tests you can do as well. I've heard of this one where you can write an email to yourself, and you can say, I would like to see this sign, 3 times in 3 days, as confirmation, that this person is my twin flame. And you should pick a symbol or something that you don't really expect to see that often. You wouldn't want to pick something that you're going to see all the time. So pick something that is a little bit like something you don't see much. The harder you make it, the more convincing it can be. And then see if, in that 3 days, that symbol will appear to you. Because I know that sometimes, especially in the beginning of the journey, it's hard to trust. The ego is constantly, trying to derail you. It's telling you this isn't real. This is crazy. What are you thinking? And so we can kind of, the signs can help reassure us that it is real. And it's okay to ask. It's okay to ask whenever you're feeling kind of low on faith, when you're kind of full of doubt. It's okay to ask Source to give signs, and to kind of say, what kind of signs might help. Obviously, you can't pressure, your twin to contact you and confirm. You can't wake your twin up and have them say, you can't forcibly wake them up. I mean, that has to, that takes the time it takes. You shouldn't try to force them. They're going to wake up in their own way, in their own time. And all you're going to do, if you try to force them to wake up, is end up fighting them, pushing them away, causing them to feel stressed and overwhelmed. They're not ready. And if they're not ready, then it's not really fair to them. I think, though, I'm looking through this, that is. Oh yes, I have one more thing, and I'm looking at it. Objects. You might find things. Like I found this heart-shaped rock. I was outside walking on a kind of forested path, and I was talking to my twin, and I was like thinking I would like to have some sort of memento or something, something that I could like touch, to as a memento. And I was kind of thinking of like a little Eiffel Tower keychain or something like that, But then I looked down and I found this like rock that is very, very heart shaped. And so I took this home with me. And it reminds me sometimes to hold it when I'm meditating. And so you might find things like this when you're out, heart-shaped items, or I found things. I find things on the ground, like pieces of paper and stuff. Sometimes that with French on them. I don't live in France, as I said. I live in Sweden, but occasionally I will find papers, litter that have French words written on them. So you might find things like that. When we were talking about numbers, I didn't say, but I was walking and I saw a license plate, but it wasn't attached to the car. It was like on the side of the road, and it had 333, and the letters were jag, which is I in Swedish. So I, and then 333, which kind of represents ascended masters. And I saw that on the road, and I have a picture I took of that one. But yeah, there are all kinds of things, and some of these signs are going to be very unique to your journey and to your connection with your twin. Like you might have a favorite place that you go to, so you might be hearing a lot of references to that particular restaurant or that particular place that you that is special to you. Yeah. So that is, I think I've been pretty thorough. I know I've left things out. If there is any other types of signs you want me to talk about, or you just want to share because they're unique to your journey, please feel free to comment. And thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe.